This where the fans come, this where the jits bang. I'm from the hood though, like the hood though. Like really from the hood though. Like where they
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the larger nitrous systems for racing. And when I mean larger nitrous systems, I mean something around 250 to 300 plus horsepower applied. I'll show you my car, Charlie Murphy, what I do, how meticulous I am with the tune-ups, how meticulous I am about the maintenance on the car, and how I keep my engine alive. So first of all, we're going to start out with Charlie Murphy's engine, which is a 400 plus something cubic inch 23 degree small block Chevrolet. I'm running a Nitrous outlet Stinger 3 plate on it that was flowed by Induction Solutions. And guys, when it comes to spraying nitrous, that is your number one money spent. That will save you so much time and effort, is just go get it flowed by Stevie Johnson. He'll send you the tune-ups. I'll show you a picture of that, my tune-ups, and then it takes all the guesswork out of tuning, really. As long as you follow his recommendations, your motor's going to live, it's going to fly too. So that was some of the best money I ever spent, is getting my stuff flowed by him and Induction Solutions. It was like 450 or 500 bucks, man. It was worth every dime. So anyway, back to my engine. Like I said, it's a purpose-built nitrous engine, and when I mean purpose-built, I mean the camshaft in it is a custom-cut bullet solid roller that has a lot of exhaust duration. And on a nitrous motor, the camshaft has to have a lot of exhaust duration versus the intake. In my application, I've got like 15 degrees or more. I think it's 15 degrees more exhaust duration than I have intake. And so the exhaust valve opens sooner, stays open longer, and that kills motor power. But when you're talking about nitrous, getting nitrous out in and out of the cylinders, that's exactly what you got to do. And it's on a 110 intake center line, 114 lobe separation angle. That wide lobe separation angle cuts out some of the overlap of the engine, and so the scavenging ability of an overlap cam is pretty much taken out to be able to keep nitrous in, get nitrous out more efficiently. So like I said, the camshaft is bad for motor power if you're trying to just run on motor, but it really works good when you spray the nitrous to it. Also, I run gas ported Ross pistons. And when I mean gas ported, I mean that they have tiny little holes. And I'll show you a picture of a blowed up piston I had, but they got tiny little holes around the outside perimeter of the piston. What that does is it compresses the rings and pushes the rings out to seal the cylinder better. They're forged, and I have NOS nitrous rings that are gapped appropriately for the amount of nitrous I plan on spraying on this engine. I have forged internals, a dart block, the whole 9 yards. And I have AFR heads. Anything else other than that is not very special. Just a regular carburetor, MSD grid, and things like that. When it comes to building a nitrous engine, the camshaft and the ring gap and the type of ring you use is real big. If you're running a lot of nitrous, you want to run a real good, expensive set of NOS rings, the tool steel rings, and gap them appropriately, because you don't want them rings to, when that piston expands, you don't want them to pinch and pop the top off. That's bad. So that's why you gap your rings, because a lot of that heat and cylinder pressure will cause that piston to expand, and when that piston expands, that ring will touch, and when it does, there's only one way it can go. It touches and it goes up. And when it goes up, that's when you pop the top off a piston. And that's bad. That's a failure. And your camshaft, like I said, you want to have a good amount of lift, and you want to have a lot more exhaust duration than you have intake duration, and you want a wide lobe separation angle. A lot of these companies want to grind 4 degrees in advance, 4 degrees advance from the intake center line to give you more of that mid-range power, and it works out real good. Another tip is that I would have done if I had known, but I didn't know. On a traditional small block Chevrolet, the 4/7 swap is actually a very good thing to do when you're having a custom ground cam cut. I didn't do the 4.7 swap. I didn't think it was that important, but a buddy of mine who has a similar combination, he did the 4.7 swap, and he's seen like 16, 17 horsepower on the engine dyno just doing that. I was like, man, that's horsepower I threw out the window, because they can cut that same price for a regular fire and order for a Chevrolet versus the 4.7 swap. And your bottle pressures and things of that nature is very important. So, you know, Stevie Johnson, when you go send your plate off, or your direct port intake, or whatever you have put on your car, if you send it off to him, and you know, he'll tell you what bottle pressure to run, what timing to run, and he's told me, you stick with my jets and my tune-ups, because if you get squirrely with that, then you're asking for trouble. So I pretty much stick with what that man says. I've never had a problem, and my car has flown because of him. Another thing I did, and I'll show you some pictures of it, is a dedicated fuel cell. So my engine on a normal day will run on 110 VP gasoline, and it runs very well like that. I mean, the engine could probably actually run 93 with the size of the camshaft and the compression. I think my compression is like 11-to-1, so I could actually probably run pump gas, but I run the 110 in there to be safe. But I run a dedicated fuel cell with its own pump, its own regulator and everything, and I run C23 in that. Now, you don't have to run VP C23 fuel in a tune-up of 300 or 400. Stevie Johnson said I could get away with C16, but I run C23 because I like to be safe. I like to know that I've got plenty of octane to prevent the detonation, so I don't kill a bunch of pistons, or I don't nip some plugs or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and spend that little bit of extra, and then I buy the good gasoline. I buy the good C23 from VP in there, and I've never had a problem, and it runs like a scalded dog when I do that. So and Stevie Johnson will also tell you about your bottle pressures, how to go about, you know, doing the maintenance on your engine, what spark plugs you need to use, what heat range you need to use, how much gap. That man will completely help you out, and you won't even have, he takes a lot of the guesswork out of nitrous racing for me. So I use the MSD grid, and I use an NX progressive controller. Now, the progressive controller gives me the opportunity to control how much nitrous when it comes in, ramp it out. It's got a built-in window switch, all that stuff. So that really helps me in the small tower world when I'm trying to get out there, even on a radial or even a 2810.5. I can get out there and I can hit it with a little bit of nitrous off the line, and then I can ramp that nitrous in over time and bring in the full shot over time. And that really helps me get hooked up, helps me get on down the track. And, you know, it was a game changer for the nitrous world versus having to have a system, so many systems on a particular engine. You can have one big system, and a nitrous progressive controller will allow you to utilize that one big system and more efficiently than you can utilize, say, 3 different systems like the old cats used to do. The old cats, they used to take them bad boys, and they'll take an engine, put 2-3 systems on it, and then they would have them systems come in. Like, I would hit it with this much off the line. When I shift gears, then this system would come in, and then I'd have this system on a button, and they would just have, that's how they would bring in all the nitrous that they wanted to spray. And, you know, the technology for power adders these days has come a long way, especially for like the turbo world, but nitrous has too. And, you know, these mount motor cubic inch engines, man, 950 cubic inch engines and 903 cubic inch. And I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, I'm just a small time nitrous guy with a small block. I mean, I'm just doing what I can do with what budget I have. And so anyway, so doing that, having the bottle pressures, getting all that stuff lined out, making sure that you know how to purge your system, making sure that your purge valves are good, taking your solenoids apart and cleaning them, you know, at least twice a year. I usually try to send my whole plate to Induction Solutions every so many passes, or maybe every couple of years or something, to try and make sure the solenoids are in good working order, and to make sure everything is clean and everything's, you know, the lines are clean and all the screens are clean and everything. Just because they're better at it than I am, and they can flow it again, and they can tell me where they can adjust my tune-up or whatever. So yeah, that's super important, man. So knowing how to stage your car, knowing how nitrous works, because contrary to what people believe, nitrous oxide, when you're spraying nitrous in a motor, that motor is still naturally aspirated. It isn't like a boosted engine where, you know, at 14.7 atmospheric pressure, you know, you're at ambient atmosphere. So 14.7 is ambient atmosphere, and when your engine is running naturally aspirated, it pulls 14.7 pounds per square inch of vacuum or into the engine. That's how much atmosphere is in the engine. And when you put boost to it, you're adding PSI on top of that atmosphere, so you can have two or three levels more of atmosphere in there than you're naturally aspirated. And then, of course, when you put more air in the engine, you can burn more fuel, make a bigger boom, make more power. That's the whole boost concept. The nitrous oxide is a little different because you're creating your atmosphere chemically. You're spraying inside the engine. You are adding oxygen into your 14.7 to 1 atmospheric pressure that the engine's already pulling. You're adding oxygen chemically in there. And then by that, you can add more fuel, and then blah, 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 blah. Same thing, bigger explosion, more power. And the beauty of nitrous is, for my personal taste, the beauty of nitrous is the tunability of it and how precise you can be with it. Especially nowadays with the technology we have now, man, there's just so much stuff you can do with it. And you can hide it in so many different ways, and everything is just, I mean, I know guys complain about the bottles, filling up the bottles, and, you know, making sure that you got this and making sure you got that. And I understand, but for me, it's like a no-brainer. You know, as long as you do your routine maintenance, you've got your heat range and your spark plugs right, you've got your ring gap right, you've got a cam that'll work with it, you've got your bottle pressure right, you know, and if you got your tune-ups where the manufacturer says, or if you had it flowed where Stevie says, you're not going to have a problem. And that thing is going to fly. And it's, you know, it's so tunable. Like you can add up to 5-10 horsepower just by messing with some of the fuel pressures, or maybe putting, you know, just jet it up to the next size or whatever the deal is. I mean, you can really narrow it down, especially with a progressive controller. You can narrow it down by percentages how much you want that bad boy to spray. And as long as you follow the manufacturer's specifications and you play with nitrous, not like you're an expert, but like you're going to take the advice of those who have done it before you, then you'll be fine, and you'll have a lot of fun, and you'll be super fast. Like I said, I use a dedicated fuel cell. I listen to guys. Stevie Johnson, he's been doing it a long time. So is Nitro Dave, and the guys at Wilson Manifolds. A lot of those guys have been doing this a very long time. Even some local guys I know around here that are very, very good nitrous racers, who know how to tune nitrous, who can tell you little secrets here and there. But then you've got some guys who tell you that they're a professional. They'll tell you to you could go from 7 PSI fuel pressure, go to 5, 5.5, you'll be fine. And then you're kicking pistons out the bottom of your engine. Now, you don't listen to those kinds of people. I tend to listen to the professionals. But anyway, like, share, and subscribe, guys. This is a quick run around of my car, what I do, how I apply things. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section, or send me a message on Facebook at River City Muscle Cars LLC. Anyway, like I said, like, share, and subscribe, and you guys have a good day. Later. Injection. Get your damn heart out.